So, what should Trump have said at that meeting? I'm not going to parse the issue. Well, first of all, I did a previous video where I clearly stated that I think that the whole thing was absolutely disgusting and horrendous, and it makes me question um, really his sanity in a way. I don't want to sound like some of these naysayers, some of these smart sounding psychological nuts, these people with their phony British accents who are going to psychoanalyze. But it was very unpresidential, and it was really showed a very kind of bad part of his character to refer to nations as shithole nations. It's disgusting. It's one thing for me to say it, but for the president of the United States, not good. However, if he had replaced that word with saying perhaps something more precise, like that these are socialist hellholes that are suffering under the jackboot of left wing dictators and totalitarians, then it could have been an interesting teaching moment for us. Of course, it wouldn't have been reported by the media, but instead of talking about whether or not these nations, he's insulting these nations because some of them happen to be predominantly black, and trying to tie this into a charge that he's got something against black people, we might be talking about what these nations have become, how their leaders are Marxists in historically and even today, and how they've created these horrible, suffering hellholes where the economy is run by a few elites, where people suffer under the jackboot of leftism, where some of these African nations in particular, and I think also Haiti, and probably El Salvador to an extent, these are the nations he was talking about, they could have taken a different direction. They could have, at the time of their independence, moved toward a more free market system, a more freedom-oriented system. They could have embraced ideas that America embraced at the time of our revolution in 1776, ideas which have put power into the hands of the sovereign citizen, which would have limited government, which would have embraced Judeo-Christian moral codes that would be outside the manipulation of government, but instead they embraced leftist, totalitarian nanny states where the government controls everything. And as a result, they are hellholes. Now, to call them shitholes was really too bad, because this could have been a great, as I said, a teaching moment in terms of what these nations have become and why the people of those nations rightfully would love to get the hell out of there and come to the United States. But how, perhaps as a matter of public policy, we Americans who want to preserve all of the gains that we've made over hundreds of years, particularly labor, would like to reach out a hand to these nations and the people of these nations and teach them what it is that's made us who we are. Because these ideas are not chauvinistic, they're not exclusive, they're not particular to America. They're universal ideas. They're the ideas of freedom. Those are the ideas that brought Donald Trump to power. Those are the ideas that we ought to impart to other nations and identify them for what they are, or what they've become because of their corrupt, progressive, so-called socialist leadership, which is hellholes, and help them go become free. But that teaching moment has been lost, unfortunately, by President Trump's stupid characterization of them as shitholes, which now is the main story. And so we're not going to talk about these nations. We're not going to talk about their corrupt systems and how their shift to the left at their time of independence has hurt them terribly. Instead, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and the fact that he allegedly has something against black men and women. That's the main subject, by the very same people who support the very same ideas that have led to such suffering and such misery in the nations that they claim to support. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.